Well, the Philadelphia Phantoms were back at it tonight in South Philadelphia against the Calgary Flames. Different team, both the opponent and the team that the Flyers brought out on the ice because we lost Scott Lawton, of course, over the weekend, and we lost Travis Konechny. Both of them were scratches in tonight's game. The prognosis, injury-wise, for Travis Konechny is a little bit unknown. Tanner Laczynski was recalled from Lehigh Valley in order to take a spot on the roster. Igor Zamula was sent back down to Lehigh Valley. It really doesn't matter. 5-2, Flyers lose tonight to the Calgary Flames. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Clear the Ice here on the Edge of Philly Sports, the best in Philadelphia Flyer postgame show with your boy, Matty B. And just kind of the same script as we continue to chug through this. The winless streak now goes to 7 games, 0-5-2 in that span. And, again, it's kind of a reoccurring thing every night with this team. It's get down early, kind of, make the adjustments, get a little bit better, fight back into it, and they just don't have enough to get that final push tonight as well. Down 2-0 early and 2 ugly goals. I mean, the first and second periods that the Flyers played tonight were some of the worst hockey I've ever seen from anybody. It was listless. It was lifeless. It was lacked any kind of jump or spark, no aggression. They allowed Calgary just to pretty much do whatever they wanted to do. And Calgary, they're not as good as they were last year, obviously losing Johnny Gaudreau and Kachuk. But, Huberdeau and so forth, they're good players. Calgary is a burgeoning playoff team, eons above Flyers. But you saw the same script kind of play itself out. The Flyers started off slow. They got down, and then they were able to kind of chip and shake and groove and move their way back into this game. But, it's just not going to work like this for the Flyers. That they can't get off to these bad starts and expect to try to will themselves a victory. They don't have that type of talent. Now, you could also say that they don't have that kind of talent to get off to a good start either. I agree either way. But tonight, you can't get off to these really flat starts. And tonight, the Flyers did that as well, en route to a 5-2 loss. Obviously, the final 2 goals were empty netters. And I'm going to get into kind of talking about that last sequence in the game. The way the Flyers came out in an empty net situation, 6-on-5, about a minute and a half left. They were down 2 goals. I'll talk about that here in a second. But let's first head over to South Philadelphia and to the head coach, John Tortorella, who spoke post-game.
Cut the lead to 1 twice, but what happened with the start? Obviously, there's been issues this year.
Yeah, we were flat. We give up both of the goals are just not supporting our D. Our D were in the rush. Our D was pinched on the 2 situations, and our forward didn't back them up, gave up a 2-on-1.
We talked this morning about how you kind of approach things differently, considering how there are all these young guys down there. I guess, how do you look at this game with that in mind? Like, how does that take a different perspective?
I'm not sure what you're asking me. I'm going to look at this game and do the tape and just try to get better and show them some of the things we need to work on, some of the things we did right, and wake up tomorrow and start another day.
So I guess like the fact that it was all young guys today doesn't change how you look at it normally if you were.
Well, there's certain things that you go over more with youth than with veteran guys. There's some mistakes made by younger guys that you handle a little bit differently. Yeah, but yeah, I look at the tape and then that speaks to me, and I'll just go about it after that as far as our meeting's concerned.
John, what are some characteristics of good NHL organizations who are able to overcome injuries to keep players?
What are you asking me?
What are some characteristics of good NHL organizations that can overcome injuries to keep players?
What team does it the best? Is that what you're asking me?
What are their characteristics? How are they able to do that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
John, go on a high note. Tanner, great first goal. Loved it in a win, got it in a loss. He's been popping off this game, though. How do you compare this performance to his other performances this season?
Who are you speaking of?
Tanner, his first game coming up from Lehigh.
Yeah, he had some good shifts. flattened out, had another couple of good shifts. Yeah. Scored a goal. That's good. Maybe that'll help them.
Talked about those 2 turnovers not supporting your D. Is it kind of the growing pains right now, especially with all the younger
No,
guys?
not those. Not those. I have a 27-year-old that should be backing up the first one, and another player that's played in the league for a number of games that should be backing up the second one. So that's not everything's going to be blamed on youth here. Those are fundamental mistakes we made as far as just simply backing up. When you see your D involved somewhere, that last forward needs to back up. We didn't on both occasions. It's in the back of our net.
On the flip side of the defensive mistakes, I know this past week you talked a little bit about the importance of making plays. Where do you feel like the playmaking was?
Not many at all. By either team. I thought it was a really low event game. We didn't give them much. We gave them some easy ones there in the 2-on-1, but other than that, there wasn't. I thought it looked like 2 teams with low energy. I thought we gained some when we scored and had some chances. Kevin has an open net there. I thought we had some chances with the goalie pulled. That's going to have to be the recipe for us. We're going to need great goaltending. Our goaltender is going to have to be the best player every night, and we got to try to keep the game close and make it into a one-bounce game or a lucky goal or whatever it may be. I think that's the way we're going to have to find our way until we get some of our lineup solidified.
You mentioned Kevin. What did you think of him at left wing? Since the first time he's ever played there with the Flyers.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. I thought his game. Obviously, we moved the lines around. I thought Frosty's line really struggled, and we may revisit that line again. But tonight, I just need to split it up, and Kevin jumped back in the middle and made some plays, had some chances, was in some of the offense that we did have. We didn't have a whole bunch. And again, I don't think Calgary did either. But Hazy will be fine there if I put him there.
You mentioned about the goaltending. You guys are going to need great goaltending. This is a really busy stretch for you guys. You're in the middle of it. There's more games coming. Are you getting any sense that Carter might be getting a bit tired due to the
Yes, yeah, I don't buy that. I not to this point. We have had a lot of days off, and I think sometimes a goaltender can be talked into being tired. At least to this game here, I think he's fresh enough to play up to this game. Now, what happens our next game? I don't know. Dilly and I have those conversations, but I think that's part of Carter growing too, is to handle some of the load. And so we'll see. I'm not, I do think athletes can be talked into being tired. And sometimes an athlete has to battle through it when we're in a little bit of a jam and you're the number one guy. You battle through it and try to find a way to help us. I think that's part of growing as a goaltender.
John, you had a special guest before the game, reading the starting lineup. What did it mean for you to be able to give the family that moment?
Yeah, those are hard times. I had an opportunity to talk to the young man before he passed, and yeah, you feel for the family. The past couple of nights, as far as the presentations, and you see some of these kids that fight their ass off, right, for the number one thing, a living, not a hockey game. So yeah, I'm glad they stepped in there. The brother seemed very excited. I got a chance to meet the mom, and yeah, so we're thrilled that they got to be a part of it. I wish we won the game for them, but it didn't happen that way.
Well, there you have it. John Tortorella post game, kind of echoing the sentiments that everybody else pretty much is feeling, and pretty much what I said too. You just got to have. You can't come out playing flat. You can't come out playing flat-footed when you're a team like the Flyers, constructed the way they are, and also dealing with all the injuries that they're dealing with. And then there's got to be some accountability when the blue lines. Some of those goals, those early goals, the 2-1-1, the second goal was really just a breakdown. You know, you have your defenseman coming up the ice, being part of the attack. The forwards have a responsibility to cover that. They have a responsibility to get back on defense in case of an odd man rush the other way. That is what happened. Led to a 2-on-1. And then Travis Sanheim on that play, I don't know what the hell he was doing. I know, as a defenseman 2-on-1 when you're deep, there's not much you can do, but I don't know what Travis Sanheim was doing at all. It was almost like he was just like, yeah, I'm out to dry, and I'm not even going to try. It was just really bad optic. So all that led to the 5-2 loss. And looky here, I got my from the Clear the Ice on Clear the Ice show tonight. Pat, the Gobbler, what's going on, man? And welcome to the show. Your first visit here. How you doing?
Well, Matt, it's good to see you, my friend. I haven't seen you in quite some time
Yeah,
since the late fall. But listen, it's not good. I love talking Flyers hockey. It's just my out of the 4 for 4. This is my go-to. But however, we are at ugly times, and I've yet to trying to figure out how this GM has a job here. Let's call it what it is. Last year, he had a 10 10 game losing streak. He has a 13 game losing streak. And now we're here in November where they crash every year. And now we're at a 7 game losing streak. And yet we're dealt with a handful of misfit toys that don't belong on this team. Well, yet in last game, John Tortorella definitely said that the pieces, are not going to be here, in the upcoming future. So he's telling you, and he's been begging, he needs playmakers. He's calling this team out. Yeah, and now he looks flabbergasted to tell you that he's running out of things to say. And I will give John Tortorella credit. He's at least being honest to the media and to the fans of what's going on. And now it's just he has that look on his face that he's out of it. He has nothing going right now. He has no answers for what product is on the ice. And he even said himself, he don't want to hear about the injury bug. He doesn't want to hear about these kids are young. You need to produce. It's sink or swim, and this team is sinking fast, fast. It's a red hot October, and after that, it goes downhill,
yeah.
downhill.
You're actually being kind. The Flyers actually endured 2 10-game losing streaks and a 13-game losing streak last season.
Oh
So
yeah,
you're being good there for leaving out one of those 10 gamers.
yeah.
Listen, Pat, you're right. I agree with everything you're saying. It's a frustrating product to know that we could have avoided all this back in the summer. We saw this accident coming, but for some odd reason, there's some other plan in place. I don't know what that plan is because they don't go and pursue the high speed free agents. They don't try to move some of the players that are on this team that could have been moved. And I'm not talking about JVR. I'm talking about Provorov, Konechny. I don't know if Kevin Hayes, you could have maybe done something there. They didn't really seem to have tried to have done any of that. And they relegated themselves in this situation. We start the season, and then they turn around and they sign Travis Sanheim to that gaudy 8-year contract, which makes absolutely no sense for a team that's in a rebuild. And let's call it what it is. There's no retool here. This is a rebuild. And they bring on players like DeLorean. They bring on players like LiAngelo, not rebuild type players. These are retool players, and it's just very confusing what they're doing. It is, and then you couple the fact in Couturier, Atkinson, or they may be lost for the season. Who knows if they're even going to come back at some point? Ryan Ellis's career is over before he even began here. And then you have to factor in who's down now. Laughton's down, and Konechny's down. Yeah, I agree. It's very frustrating. I'm not saying that a 7-game winless streak is something that wasn't to be expected this season. I think it's definitely to be expected, but it's more frustrating to know that we could have avoided this back in the summer.
Yeah, and Matt, again, you're totally right. Me and my co-host Mike Laro, as you see, we fight every morning. It's not scripted. It's just me and him just have to find a way to drop the gloves, and we don't do it on purpose. It just happens. Anyway, and again, this goes back to what I've alluded to in the summer, and he hates hearing it. Johnny Hockey. Johnny Hockey was willing to take a pay cut. He was willing to, you could tell me he was, you give me all the every excuse you want. That they couldn't afford him. No, John Hockey was willing to come here, and they said out of Chuck Fletcher's own mouth that he doesn't fit the bill here. Well, this product does. I'm sorry, but a top 5 talent in the NHL, anywhere in any major sport, 5 top talent, you could be fixable. You work around him. Usually this team doesn't have a direction. Everyone just thinks this is the Sixers and you just tank for the number 1 draft pick. That's not guaranteed because
No.
you have that crazy lottery. That's not guaranteed because this team doesn't have a direction. You can't even build a right around a goaltender who is set for you. And now all of a sudden, there's big question marks around that kid. Yeah, people could say there's no defense in front of him all they want. The question is, there's some soft ones that go right by him. He's given up third. Now, I will say, no, not him, but the team itself has now given up 32 goals since November 10th. And everyone, came out here pumping their chest because we took care of a bad Blues team that we, full exposure because they played the Boston Bruins the night before. It's not going to happen here. And now this team is being molded for which they are. This is like you said, this is not a good team. And again, go back to Chuck Fletcher. He said himself in a press conference, we are going to hope that Kevin Hayes and Sean Couturier can have bounce back years. That was their whole optimism for offense, and they've trended downwards since 2000, since the pandemic year. It's not good. It's
No,
not good. It's not good. Not good
no,
for
it's
us.
not good. And the Johnny Hockey thing is this. Would I've liked to seen him here? Absolutely. He's a hometown kid, wanted to play here. You always want to give a kid like that an opportunity to come back and play for his hometown team. But if you look at the logistics of Johnny Hockey and the money they would have had to have paid, I'm not really sure this team is going to be in any kind of competitive mode within the next 3 years, and that's a huge part of Johnny Hockey's career the next 3 years. And I rather prepare for the future, for the next Johnny Hockey, so to speak. Not to say that again, I wouldn't like him here, and especially if you could probably bring people into the building because it's going to be hard as we get into the January February timeframe for anybody even to want to go to a Flyers game. So.
Is it fair to ask you, man, can this team scout good talent? Can this team really scout good talent? Do they know what a trade? I mean, take Nolan Patrick, second overall, and then a few years later, Clarkey says he was not on most of people's draft boards. So what's really behind? Can this team really find decent talent?
Obviously, since the big thing on Hextall was that he couldn't, and then Chuck Fletcher now passing on Caulfield, but he was passed twice by a lot of the kid was really, yeah, but he was kind of short and he was undersized. I can understand kind of giving up on him, but I don't know. That's a great question, and it's definitely part of why we are where we are. Let's not ignore that. That's why we're where we are because we passed up on talent, the smartest man in the room mentality, and we're stuck with the players like Nolan Patrick, and we're stuck with players like German Rustov and all those guys who never would ever even going to crack into the NHL. And then currently Morgan Frost is the next bust in that group. So yeah, I'll definitely say we did not scout right. We didn't draft correctly, and we held on to a core of players for whatever reason we thought they were going to be anything. We held on them too long. Some bad contracts along the way. Kevin Hayes is a bad contract.
And for whatever reason, we about what year or 2 years ago now, they threw Scott Lofton a handful of money for what?
Yeah.
For what? You're throwing guys money for what? For what? You're throwing big bucks for who? For what? You haven't proved. All I heard is 2016. The Flyers have the deepest farm system. Here we are, 2022. Almost 10 years past, and we can't even scratch the surface of a playoff spot.
Well, actually, the farm system is here in Philadelphia now. It's the Philadelphia Phantoms, for God's sakes, what we're seeing every night. So let's get back to this game there, Pat. So the scoring summary, let's go over how it all went down. Jonathan Huberdeau got things going for the Flames early in this, about the 5-minute mark. His third of the season from Blake Coleman, 1-0 Calgary. Then Dylan Dubé would get his second 13:51 mark. That was that 2-on-1, just a blown assignment from a forward, and then Travis Sanheim doing absolutely nothing to try to stop that. Blake Coleman his sixth, and Mackenzie Weegar his fifth. And then the Flyers, though, just as like on script, they go down early and they come right back. Tanner Lazinski on his returns from Lehigh Valley, his first goal from Kevin Hayes, his 14th, and Noah Cates, his fourth. 2-1 heading into the second period. The only goal in the second was from Rasmus Anderson, his second, at the 3:29 mark to make it 3-1 Calgary. And then Joel Farabee got things going in the third period around the midway point of the period. His fourth was unassisted, and then the Calgary Flames added 2 empty netters to seal it at 5-2. Kind of going over some stats individually. The Flames outshot the Flyers, or not individually, but team-wise, the Flames outshot the Flyers 30-25. Flyers now for the season are 550 shots for and 643 against. The Flyers were 0 for 2 tonight on the power play. Flames were 0 for 3 on the power play for the season. Flyers are now 10 for 62 on the power play for a 16% effective rate. And there you have it. 5-2, your stars tonight. Rasmus Anderson gets your number one star, the goal. Jacob Markstrom, the goalie, who played pretty well. It wasn't really tested much, but played well. He's your second star. And Tanner Lazinski comes in at the third star mark with his goal tonight. Pat, I want to take you to the end of the game here. We're down 3-2. We're down 3-2. The Flyers pull the goalie. Give up a they put on some pressure, but then they were rewarded with that with giving up an empty netter, which I got it. It happens like that sometimes. There was still about 2 minutes left, about 151 to be exact. They pulled the goalie again, and then they had a 6-on-5 advantage. And over the next 47 seconds, they didn't touch the puck once. The Flames played keep away. Now, I've watched a lot of hockey. I've played a lot of hockey. It doesn't make any sense to me that if you have 6 players on the ice versus the other team's 5, how in the hell are you not able to possess the puck at least one time in almost a minute time span? It was an indication of the white flags have been raised. We just want this thing to end. It was embarrassing to watch. I know in the grand scheme of this game means absolutely nothing, but to me, it speaks volume of where this team mentality is right now, or potentially where it was at that moment of the game. Pat, do you know the sequence that I'm talking about, and how do you feel about it?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Look, keyword embarrassing. Embarrassing. You have more people on the ice. That puck should be in your hands. Your possession of it should be with you majority of the time, coming up and trying to scout plays and try and find the back of the net. And here you can't even do that right. I mean, it's again embarrassing product and embarrassing. This is what you're trying to tell the people, and you're going to be 2 years away from being a contender with this. Come on, man. This is like Sky Hall said. It's a written circle for a W for teams that come into South Philly. And it's a shame because Matt, you and I growing up in an era where coming South Philly was scary for most teams. Now it's you come get your cheesesteak and you can get a W.
Yeah.
Come on. It's this like you said, that sequence, you've got the 6-on-5, you're supposed to be time possession, trying to sneak plays, come up, and nothing. And that's why, again, they keep on showing John Tortorella because they know he's flabbergasted. He can't do it no more. He's already, he lost it.
But you got to know, you got to think he knew what he was getting himself into. But
he did.
On the season, the Flyers now 7-8-4. The winless streak now goes to 7. It's not a losing streak technically. They have gotten 2 points in this stretch of time, but technically it is a losing streak. But I call it a winless streak because they have non-lost a couple games in regulation, of course. Next on the slate, Wednesday night in Washington against the Capitals. Flyers try to end that 7-game winless streak. Carter Hart may or may not get the start. I don't really, if you listen to John Tortorella's post game, they already started talking about maybe load management. Listen, Tortorella's right. Listen, we're not playing well. And you're the number one guy. We need you. We need you to step up. They've had a lot of days off. They've only played 4 back-to-backs all season long. Carter Hart should not be tired. And for the number one goalie, I don't want to hear it.
Correct. I'm with you.
Let's get in there. We need you. Now there's going to be a spot here at the end of the week where they play on Friday against Pittsburgh. I think turn around on back-to-back on Saturday against the Islanders. Yeah, then okay, get Sanderson in there, but. Right now, it's Carter Hart until at least Saturday, as the Flyers try to break this 7-game winless streak. And let's talk a little bit about Carter Hart because I agree with you too, Pat. Not that I want to run him out of town and don't think he's worth anything. I think he's a good young goalie, but the attitude that a lot of Flyer fans take about Carter Hart, that he's untouchable, that he's this prodigy of the future, I'm not buying that. If some team comes around and offers me the right deal, see you later, Carter Hart. I got to think of the long-term success of this team. And right now, I equate it to like having a great closer and you're a 30-win baseball team. What in the hell does it matter if you have a closer or not? You don't use them. He doesn't get in the game, for God's sakes. Trading a player like that could potentially do more for you in the long run than having that player on the team. So, where do you come out on the Carter Hart thing there, Pat? Would you be open to moving Carter along?
At first, I was most like most Flower fans. I didn't want to trade him. I thought he was an untouchable. I thought you got to give this kid some time. But how much time do you have left of trying to fix this right? Trade him now. And I know, if he's watching this program right now, Mike Lowry is ripping his head over his head, probably wanting to punch me. But you know what, Mike? And Mike is one of those guys that say he's untouchable. But like you said, if the price is right, go for it. You're
Yeah.
not going anywhere anyway. So like you said, if you're going to think about building for the long haul, the time is now. Let him go somewhere he could be happy, where he has no pressure here, because he's under a lot of pressure. It's Philly, and I got the whole, we get the whole culture here. If you're a goaltender, point guard, super NBA superstar, quarterback, or a pitcher here, you are under a lot of pressure, and he's under a lot of pressure to perform well. And guess what? He's not living up to par, and he doesn't have this great defense in front of him. So guess what? Move on from him. And move on. The Iron Progolovs are not helping you at all. Proby is not helping you at all. Okay, he was supposed to be this top defenseman, and D'Angelo, that pairing was supposed to be this key thing, not working. Get him out of here. It's time to move on.
Yeah, and again, let me preface it by saying that it'd have to be a nice offer. I'm not going to let him go for a bag
Yeah,
of pucks.
right.
But draft pick, maybe some players right now, some NHL, guys. I don't know. It's getting to a point now where we're actually at a point with the injury. If the injuries keep mounting, something's got to give, and just for respectability, because we can't keep hurting out the Philadelphia fans. We gotta get some sort of NHL team out there just for our own damn self-respect. I got the winning and losing thing, but something's got to give here soon.
Just to me, what changed from October to now? What changed? I mean, you pretty much had the same roster. I mean, other than Konechny being out, like what changed? I mean, did the teams figure out John Tortorella's scheme? What changed?
I think it's more the mentality of football. Think about football. The first month of the season is pretty pretty up in the air. It's almost like an extended preseason. It's teams figuring each other out, teams figuring tendencies out, teams figuring out John Tortorella. I mean, they didn't really know what to expect going up against a John Tortorella-led Flyers. I mean, the Flyers snuck a few under the radar. I mean, they beat the Devils. They're one of only 3 teams who have beaten the Devils all season, so that tells you a little bit of something. But it's just the natural progression of sports. They got a few games in before the tape was out, I guess, on them or whatever, and the tendencies were out against them. And that's what it is. But I always knew the Flyers were destined for failure this year. It wasn't that they were never in line to be a Stanley Cup contender. They were never in line to be a playoff team. And I don't think it was the plan to be that way. There's more. I love to know what the plan is, because it's going to get bad again. It's going to get really bad. And then we got John Tortorella, who doesn't take to that kind of pressure well. He's going to blow at one point. He's going to go off. He's going to do something. Maybe it makes for good theater, but as far as the state of the team and what the plan might be, I don't know. But I expect some moves to start.
If there's any bright spot on this team, it's John Tortorella, and here goes why. They know what he was walking into. We all knew what he was walking to, and we're all waiting for him to blow that gasket, snap out in the media and all that stuff. And he's doing everything he can to stay even keel. And like I said, he's being honest with the fans. It's at the point where I said, I can't. There's some. I can't hate. I like this guy. He's won me over because he's being honest. Like I said, he's telling us the story, what's going on. He's begging for playmakers. He's begging for someone to step up. And yeah, this is, like I said, everyone's waiting for that. Oh, want to go toe to toe. Someone from the media want to go toe to toe with the guy, and he's not. He's just keeping everything even keel. Like he's said, I'm going to go back, and he even said in the press conference, we got to hope that we win by fluke goals, because that's how we're going to win. If not, forget it.
And they told you this in the beginning of the season. They said, listen, we're going to be playing a lot of young players. We got to figure out who's here for the long haul, who's not going to be here for the long haul. And obviously that process is playing itself out. But there are some concerns still. The other night when asked about, I think it was the Montreal game, in his post game, he said that what he's kind of looking for is not necessarily on the ice leadership. but the leadership on that bench, no one has stepped up to fill that void of the captain to kind of rally the troops and said, "Listen, guys, we got to get back in." There's no voice on the bench right now. There's no leadership voice on this hockey team right now, and that's concerning because we have young players, but we also have Kevin Hayes, we also have Ivan Provorov, we also have Tony DeLangelo, we also have veterans that are on this team. It's not like it's just rookies, but nobody's stepping up to fill the void. And that's a character issue, and that goes a long way into building an identity of a team. And if we don't have that player here now, obviously it's a matter of trying to figure out getting that player. But I'm telling you, I think some things are going to happen this season. I think some players are going to be moved. I'm not saying for immediate help this year, but some help maybe down the line, maybe some top end prospect type players. But Kevin Hayes, if they can move him, Ivan Provorov, if they can move him, there's going to be some moves made between now and the trade deadline. I really do believe that's going to be the case.
I'm with you. I think that they are going to move on from somebody. I think they're going to get rid of some guys. It's just matter. And going back to your point of looking for veteran leadership, they expected that. They put a lot on Travis Connecting. They said we put a lot on the shoulders. Bad part is John Tortorella's already benching him. That's not a good look either.
No.
So again, they're like I said, it goes back to the veteran guys. They're not, to order and follow through. Like you can say what you want about Pittsburgh. They got a great coach. They got a great leader, and they've been successful for years with that formula. Mike Sullivan and Cindy Crosby has been a antidote. That's been a successful antidote for them. Recipe for success, rather, for out there in Pittsburgh. We don't have that here. We moved on from 28, Mr. 28, and I thought that was the best move ever. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong.
It was a good. It was a good. He had to go. He
Yeah,
wasn't going to.
no,
He wasn't going
yeah,
to come back this year as a free
no,
agent, so they had to
no,
get something.
no. I was excited about the move, but man, we're stuck here. We're stuck in sports hell as far as this hockey team. And it sucks because we got spoiled with the World Series. We got spoiled because they played hot in beginning of October, and then they just flatlined out like that, in a matter of minutes.
Well,
It's crazy.
I said this too in the beginning of the year. The Flyers are going to be more competitive, and they actually are. The games are more fun. I mean, they're not. It's not good
Till the
hockey.
third period.
It's fun hockey. There are players out there that are busting their ass, and he's getting everything that these guys have. Question is not that. Question is these guys just don't have it to begin with to give, but he's getting everything out of them that they can possibly give. It's just not enough. They're just not those types of players. They're not good enough. They're not that high end talent. And then and that's I go back to Chuck Fletcher saying that last winter. We need more high end talent. Well, where is it? And it's obviously not here right now. So that's what's frustrating too.
Yeah, and like I said, I looked at this whole team coming into the season. I did my background search. I took the Owen Tippett of the world and all these other guys. Like these guys are like 34 line guys who only have like 5 goals, maybe less than that on a year. Some kids, like you said, are from Lehigh. There's nothing that's exciting and thrilling. You like I said, I thought with Tony DeLangelo being here, I thought, okay, that's a name with some good, coming from a successful Carolinas team. I'm thinking there's going to be some success, and nothing, just fiddled out, phased. It's an ugly time to be a Flyers fan right now.
Yeah, it is. But let's go to the segment on the show where we talk about the potential future. Connor Bednard, the young man who's the consensus #1 overall draft pick in this coming summer's draft, currently playing center for the Regina Pats of the Western Hockey League. Connor is 22 games into his season, 19 goals, 29 assists, 48 points, 30 penalty minutes. His plus minus is now down to +6. He was up at 13 a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what's going on out there, but Connor obviously showing the stat line of a #1 overall NHL pick. And obviously, Flyers, along with a few other teams, have their eyes firmly set upon him to possibly be a part of their team as soon as next year. So there's your Connor Bednard check-in for the night. And that's pretty much going to wrap us up. Let me go over here and pay some bills with the sponsors. We got to do those things because I've been getting yelled at for not doing it. But don't forget about the toy drive for the Delco Group. Really good cause, December 9th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. down there at 777 West Sprout Road in Springfield, PA. Come and donate some toys for some families that need them this holiday season as we get ready to enter the holiday season. Don't forget to think of those of you that are a little bit less off. So we're going to be accepting, or they're going to be accepting toy drives, a toy on this day. So head down there on December 9th from 3 to 7 and donate a toy and help out a family. Philly Sports Trips, always great stuff happening in Philly Sports Trips. They just came back from Indianapolis yesterday. The next trip will be to New York, but don't forget, I believe the New York trip is sold out. If it is, I think it is. But I know Chicago is open, and I think Dallas is still open too. Check in with the boys at the home tailgate parties. There's one coming up this Sunday, Eagles Packers at the Gatehouse, aka the Navy Yard. And also check out all the great other stuff that they got going on. Spring training stuff for the Phillies already out there for next season, and Sixers and Flyers trips as well. Rob Cherry, or not Rob, Dave Cherry, our man for workman's comp, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law, 610-565-0300. Tell him Matty B sent you. He'll take great care of you. And we have a chock full of stuff here on the network, even on this early or this short week with the holiday coming on Thursday. Tonight we had Sully Squad, Party on Broad, and then me and Pat Bernard on Clear the Ice Against the Flames. This is what the rest of the week looks like. Look at that Thursday lineup. That's pretty intense. Don't forget about the Fightin's Final Phillies 2022 Year in Review show that will be airing on 11 a.m. on Thanksgiving. Check it out. It's going to be fun. We put the cherry on top of the Phillies season. Bird's IQ, which I will be a guest on this week, will also air at 12 p.m. on Thanksgiving. And the Attacking Third, the soccer show, the Union show. But again, there's just so much going on the damn network. It would take me forever to read it all, but definitely check everything out. And if you got to go drown your sorrows about the Flyers and you're in Delco, there's only one place you got to go, and that's Dolan's. Tell PJ we sent you, and I'll take good care of you too. So there we are, guys, or Pat, I should say. We're the only two here.
Yes.
5-2 final. Flyers now 7-8-4 on the season. Next game will be on Wednesday night against the Washington Capitals. Pat Bernard, do you have anything you want to kind of final shot, parting words, anything like that?
Yeah, as my good buddy Matty B would say, fire Chuck Fletcher.
Not yet. Well, I'm coming. Yeah, I don't. I
there,
really.
brother.
So you do your research about this hockey team, and I've done it too. I've looked back over it. I've known it for a long time. We are single-minded, kind of going right after Fletcher, Hextall, this era of Flyers hockey. Listen, Pat, we've won 2 Stanley Cups in 55 years of existence. All right, and those cups were back in the mid-70s, and they were back to back. The other GMs that have come after Keith Allen and before Chuck Fletcher, or up to Chuck Fletcher, have suffered the same fate that Chuck Fletcher has suffered, to include Bobby Clark and Paul Homer. None of them could figure it out. There were no cups in that time. Regardless, we got there a few times in the 80s and the 90s and once in the 2010s, but still, the ultimate prize was not captured, and it hasn't been captured since the 70s. So when we want to kind of stake Chuck Fletcher out on an anthill and douse him with honey, I got that. But he just kind of fallen suit with a long line of failed GMs in this town and failed plans. So you got to look at that in terms of perspective. With Howie, the man at least won a Super Bowl, and it's easier for me to kind of, and I'm hard on him. So you might be wondering why the hell I'm not trying to stake Chuck Fletcher out to an anthill, because maybe I've learned from my mistakes. So I don't know what Chuck Fletcher's plan is. Somebody's got to. He has to have one, or he shouldn't have a job. And I don't know how it's all going to work out, but we really should start seeing something soon, because he's losing a lot of people every day. Every day he's losing more and more fans because of not necessarily the product, but what's the plan to fix it? And that's what we all want to know. And that's what I want to know.
You said it best, my friend. We are the Cleveland Browns of the NHL. We don't. That's Flyers need help. Yes, Alice, They do. They need help right now. The thing is, they don't know where to get it. The guys in the front office don't know how. They don't have answers. It's just to me, like I said, um, they, it's been going on like 75. Okay, 75. You know, what is that? Nobody's been around for that. You know, and it was I don't know, maybe a couple of the older heads,
Well, I
but
was born in '73. I was born the year
uh,
before the first one, so
okay.
I don't remember the Cubs, obviously.
No, so I mean, like my dad's got to tell me stories
Yeah,
again. Like, and look, when I became Flyers, when I walked into Flyers, obviously I was a little guy, but I walked into Eric Lindros, and again, this is what made
great
me
era,
a die. The LOD Lindros. I had
great era.
Leclerc, and that's what, and I was spoiled in that, and I go from that to this, to
Yep.
this.
Yeah, but the bottom line was there was no Cups in that era. There's no Cups in this era. There was no Cups
No,
in any of the eras. Brian Propp years in the mid '80s when I started really becoming a big time Flyer fan. We ran up against Wayne Gretzky and all that. So no Cups there. And then also the first round draft pick thing. The Flyers in their entire history of their franchise have only had the first overall pick in the NHL draft once, and that was in 1975. And that was Mel Bridgman. So partly due to the fact that they were a perennial playoff team all the time and they were consistently battling for the cup. But when they did have those lean years, and there's a few of them in there, they never got that first round pick. So to think that they're going to break all that that mystique this year, again, I wouldn't bet on it. But yeah,
well, can
it's
I
a
ask
hard
you,
time to be a Fire fan.
Matt? Is this what this team only like? This is what they know? Like, okay, we'll come out hot, and then that's it. Like, we don't have an answer after. I mean, really, I mean,
You know? What is
I,
the
I,
plan?
I mean, again, I've said this to many people. Crosby's never gone through this. Ovechkin's never had to deal with something like this. You know, Stamkos doesn't have to deal with issues like this. And now we're going to see all those guys this week. We're going to see Ovechkin. We're going to see Crosby. We're going to see Matt Barzal. We're going to see Stamkos. Ay.
Yeah, but
But
when you
yeah,
look at those teams, the Capitals, let's look at two of those teams. Or maybe not. The Lightning too. So the Capitals, Lightning, and the Penguins. There's been lean years in their franchises, and that's how Crosby ended up with the Penguins, and that's how Stamkos ends up with the Lightning, and that's how Ovechkin ends up with the Capitals because they've been bad. They were bad at one point, and they were pretty awful at one point. Now they were lucky enough to kind of catch these types of players in their time. There's no guarantee that you're going to run into a Crosby or an Ovechkin or a Stamkos. You may run into a Nolan Patrick. So there's no guarantee of that. Timing is a big part of it, but also losing is a big part of it too. And the Penguins have had their fair share of losing a lot of it, and they just made the right moves. They've acquired the right draft picks. They didn't have the smartest man in the room mentality and made the smart pick, not the potentially smart pick, but the smart pick. And that's where we lack. And we don't have. When was the last time Eric Lindros? I'll give you my vote. Was the last consensus superstar that's played for this hockey team. If you
correct.
look back at the history of the NHL and of the Flyers, Eric Lindros is maybe the one and only superstar in his prime that the Flyers got.
Yeah, I agree. Again, with you, Lindros was the last guy I saw. Last legit superstar that you saw. Must watch TV, your eyes following wherever he went on the ice. He's the last guy you saw. Is there any insane transcendent talent coming in the draft?
Connor Bednar is the number one talent coming out of this draft, Freddie. He's supposed to be the next greatest thing. He is supposed to be NHL ready. He's supposed to be 35 to 40 goal scorer right in his rookie year. He's a center from the Regina Pats. That's who it is. Other than that, there's a lot lower level talent. There's some NHL talent available, NHL ready now talent, but more than likely, if you're picking in that like 10 down to like 30 spot in the first round, all those players are going to go right into the minors or right to college or continue on in the junior level. So there's a few players up there in the top five.
And to piggyback what you were saying about, you know, again, the Penguins, they go from Mario Lemieux to Crosby. It's like they don't miss a beat. They don't really miss
Well,
it.
there was a little dry spell in between Crosby and Lemieux. There's a little bit. But they were able to get the player and they were able to time it where they get a Crosby. I mean, the year that we got Nolan Patrick, it was Patrick Kane as the first overall pick. You know, and we were god awful that year. Oh no, wait, no, that was the JVR year we were god awful. I'm sorry, Patrick King was the JVR year, And we
Yeah.
were god awful 06, 07. And we ended up not getting the first round pick. And that was the difference between Patrick Kane and friggin' JVR. I mean,
Right.
there's a drop off of like crazy between those two players.
And
So
it's a world of difference. Look, a world of difference between, Drew and Crosby, and they were quote unquote the two best players coming out of that draft.
so
Uh,
it's
yeah,
timing, it's luck. It is all about that. And we just through the fact that we've been a playoff contending team, not a Stanley Cup contending team, but a playoff contending team, has kept us out of a lot of lotteries, kept us out of a lot of opportunities to draft superstars. We've been relegated to try to sign these guys as free agents, or we've been relegated to trading for them or whatnot. And this is the path that we've been on. Now it's all bottomed out, and it's bottomed out for a while now. Bottomed out like in 2015 or 14, and we just have not gotten out of the mud since then. And now
right.
we're really reaping the benefits of the fact that the core team that we had, the Drews, the Voraceks, they're gone, and now we're left with what we drafted, what Hextall drafted, and it's not good. There you
Yeah,
are.
yeah, and again, we go from that era, and like you said, the Drew Voracek and the Wayne Simmons, we have hovered around the eighth seed to now. We don't have nothing. Heck, we don't even have a captain, which is good. I actually like this move, John Torella making that move of not having a captain, which we haven't seen since '93. Um, but this is actually one of the better, which I thought was going to be because he said it was going to change the culture, but losing, you just can't change. Guys like to lose. I don't know what to tell you. I wish I could have some positivity because like I said, I love this team. And as my man Freddie Burns said, Lindros, me and him grow off of to this mess. To this mess is just unreal.
But you gotta think there's a plan that pull us out. And I don't know when that plan, if it starts this year, if it ends this year, if it starts this year, it ends 10 years from now. I don't know what the plan is. Obviously, he's not going to tell us. We're just going to have to wait and see. But 7-game winless streak now. Flyers Capitals on Wednesday night in DC or in Landover. So the Flyers will be back on the road before coming home for their annual Black Friday game against the Penguins, their matinee, and then finishing up on the road against the Islanders Saturday. That is your week of Flyers games. Pat, thank you very much for joining me. It's our first time together here on Clear the Ice. Hopefully you come back and spend some time with me and check in on me, make sure I'm okay from time to time because it's going to be a long season.
Like I said, Matt, that you got a beautiful set of brown hair. I don't know how it's not bald by now with dealing with this crap.
That's a good point. So Pat, take care. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, if I don't get a chance to talk to you between now and then.
Same, brother. And I just want to talk to you a few minutes after once we get off air. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you, to the whole EOP network, and all the fans.
All right, everybody. You guys have a good night. We'll talk to you on Wednesday night after the Capitol game, and let's go Flyers.